The GPS tracker stopped at 3:47, not gradually. It just stopped. 3 days later, they found Madison Chen's body in a place she couldn't have reached without climbing equipment. She was wearing Ashley Kern's backpack. Ashley was never found, but what investigators discovered 4 months later would turn an accident into something else entirely. Let's go back to the beginning. September 15th, 2017, 9:30 p.m., Dry Fork Trailhead parking lot, Vernal, Utah. Ryan Mitchell pulled into the gravel lot and saw Ashley's silver Honda in the far corner.
Thanks for watching this video. I'm always curious who's watching and where you're from. Drop your city, the time, and what the weather's like where you are in the comments. If you're into this kind of story, make sure to subscribe. There are a lot more strange and unsettling cases coming. Now, let's get into the story.
The doors were locked. Inside, her gym bag, 2 sealed water bottles in the cup holders, running shoes on the passenger floor. She'd texted him at 8:47 a.m. "Starting the hike. See you tonight." That was 12 hours ago. He called 911. Ranger Tom Valdez arrived at 10:15 p.m. He'd worked the Vernal district for 11 years and knew what could happen when hikers underestimated the Dry Fork system. "When did you last hear from them?" Valdez asked. "This morning, 8:47. Ashley said they'd be back before dark." "How experienced are they?" Ryan hesitated. "Ashley works at REI, does this stuff all the time. Her friend Maddie, Madison Chen, this was her first real hike, first time in slot canyons." Valdez walked around the Honda with his flashlight. No signs of struggle. Car locked up clean. But something bothered him. "Did Ashley have a GPS tracker?" "Yeah, her Garmin. She always logs routes." Ryan pulled it up on his phone. A red line traced across the map, then stopped abruptly 3.2 miles into the canyon system. Last recorded position, 3:47:22 p.m. Valdez studied the coordinates, deep in the slot canyon network where walls narrowed to less than 4 feet wide. "Why would it just stop?" Ryan asked. "Battery died, device got wet, lost satellite signal." Valdez didn't mention the other possibility, that something had happened to prevent them from moving. He radioed dispatch. 2 female hikers missing since 1600 hours. Need SAR activation. I want helicopters at first light. Then he turned back to Ryan. "What were they wearing?" "Ashley had a red REI shirt. I don't know about Maddie." "How did Maddie seem before the hike?" "Nervous. She kept asking Ashley if it was safe. Ashley kept saying families do it all the time." Ryan paused. "Maddie's scared of heights and tight spaces. I remember thinking it was weird she agreed to go." Valdez had seen this combination before, a reluctant hiker and an overconfident guide. It never ended well. Madison Chen and Ashley Kern had been best friends since college, but they were different people. Maddie was cautious, organized, anxious. She worked from home as a graphic designer and avoided surprises. She had 3 phobias her parents didn't know about: heights, enclosed spaces, deep water. Only Ashley knew. Ashley was confident, spontaneous, adventurous. She'd grown up camping in the Wasatch Mountains and had been hiking solo since 16. She worked at REI and spent weekends testing gear in the field. Ashley was the person who pushed Maddie to try new things. Maddie usually said no at first. Ashley usually wore her down. In August 2017, Ashley proposed the Dry Fork hike. "It's perfect for beginners," she said over Thai takeout. 6 miles, mostly flat. Families do it with little kids. Maddie looked at photos on her phone. Narrow red rock canyons, towering walls. "I don't like tight spaces." "I know, but that's why you should do this. Face your fear." Maddie thought about her mother who called every morning to check on her, about her ex who'd called her too scared of everything, about the feeling that her life was getting smaller instead of bigger. "Okay," she said. "Let's do it." The night before the hike, Maddie barely slept. She'd researched Dry Fork obsessively. Trip reports, videos, maps. She'd learned that people had died there. At 6:30 a.m. on September 15th, Ashley picked her up. Maddie's mother stood on the porch waving. "Be safe. Text me when you get there." At 8:15 a.m., Maddie sent her mother a text. "Love you. See you tonight." At 9:15 a.m., they pulled into the Dry Fork parking lot, empty except for them. Ashley parked in the far corner and they unloaded gear. Ashley had her red Osprey backpack. Maddie had borrowed a gray one. Ashley powered on her Garmin GPS, logging the route. That way we can do it again if it's awesome. Or never come back if it's terrible, Maddie said. Ashley laughed and held up her phone for a photo. They stood at the trailhead sign, Ashley's arm around Maddie's shoulders, both smiling. At 9:15 a.m., they started walking. The trail was easy at first, wide dirt path through scrubland. Maddie's anxiety eased. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad. By 11:30 a.m., the canyon walls had risen around them. Ashley took photos. The colors were vivid, the scale overwhelming. By 1:45 p.m., they'd covered 4 miles. The walls were hundreds of feet tall now. The path had narrowed. In some sections, Maddie could touch both walls at once. Her chest tightened. How much further? Ashley checked the GPS. Another mile to the turnaround point, then we loop back. They stopped for lunch on a boulder. Maddie sat with her back against the wall, looking up at the ribbon of sky. You doing okay? Ashley asked. Yeah, a little claustrophobic, but managing. See, you're stronger than you think. At 2:30 p.m., they continued. The trail narrowed even more. They had to turn sideways to squeeze through sections. Maddie focused on Ashley's red shirt ahead, on breathing, on moving forward. At 3:20 p.m., they stopped for a timed photo, arms around each other, smiling. In the image, Ashley looks relaxed, Maddie looks pale. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. At 3:30 p.m., the sky darkened, clouds moving in fast from the north. Ashley, the weather's changing. Ashley frowned. That came out of nowhere. Should we turn around? We're almost at the loop. It's faster to keep going. They walked faster. At 3:44 p.m., Ashley stopped abruptly. She pulled out her phone and opened the voice memo app, hit record. Ash, what are you doing? Maddie, we need to. A sound. Sharp. Like rock hitting rock. The recording cut off. At 3:46 p.m., Maddie tried to call 911. No signal. She tried to text her mother. Help. Failed. Dry fork. We need help. Failed. Ashley hurt bad. I'm going back. Failed. Ashley was sitting against the canyon wall, face white, staring at something Maddie couldn't see. At 3:47 p.m., the GPS tracker stopped transmitting. Maddie made a decision that would cost her everything. She turned and ran, not forward toward the exit, backward, toward the trailhead, toward help. Her backpack bounced. Her breath came in gasps. At some point around 3:50 p.m., she lost her phone. It fell, landed in sand, got kicked into a depression near the wall. Later, it would be buried. She kept running. Then she stopped. Maybe she realized she was going the wrong way. Maybe she remembered Ashley against that wall. Maybe she heard something. But Maddie turned around and went back. At 4:03 p.m., a photograph was taken on Ashley's phone. A narrow strip of sky between canyon walls. Dark clouds. The composition tilted, as if held at an odd angle. At 4:17 p.m., another photograph was taken. Later, the FBI would analyze this image. They would confirm it was genuine, unmanipulated. But what it showed made no sense. 2 figures on a rock outcropping. One supporting the other, features indistinct, and behind them, barely visible against the canyon wall, a third figure. Still. Watching. Wearing something blue. At 4:30 p.m., rain started 40 miles north in the Uinta Mountains. Heavy, localized, short-lived. The flash flood came 25 minutes later. A wall of brown water moving through the slot canyon at 15 miles per hour, rising 6 feet in less than a minute. By 5:15 p.m., the flood had passed through the entire Dry Fork system. When it receded, it left mud, broken vegetation, and silence. At 11:40 p.m., the first search team entered the canyon. At 1:20 a.m., they reached where the GPS had stopped. Nothing but mud and debris. At dawn on September 16th, helicopters began sweeps, 10-mile radius. They found nothing. September 17th, day 3, 60 volunteers, K-9 units, divers. At 11:15 a.m., dogs picked up a scent and followed it 2 miles downstream. At 2:30 p.m., a volunteer spotted red fabric on a boulder, part of Ashley's REI shirt. The search focused downstream. At 4:45 p.m., 2 college students searching a side canyon found something in a narrow crevice, a vertical crack 30 feet deep. Valdez and his team rigged ropes. A rescuer descended. Female, Asian, early 20s, deceased. Can you confirm identity? A pause. She's wearing a red backpack. Says A. Kern on the tag. But it wasn't Ashley Kern at the bottom of that crevice. It was Madison Chen. She was 30 feet below ground level in a place she couldn't have reached without equipment. Her body showed trauma consistent with a fall and water impact, but there was no water in her lungs. She died before the flood came. She was wearing Ashley's backpack. Her own backpack, the gray one, was never found. In the pocket of her hiking pants, wrapped in a plastic bag that had kept it partially dry, was Ashley's phone. Shattered screen, water damaged, but recoverable. Ashley Kern was nowhere. No body, no backpack, no trace. On Ashley's phone, forensic specialists would later find something that made no sense. An unsent text message composed at 3:52 p.m., 5 minutes after the GPS stopped, addressed to Madison Chen. One word: run. Ranger Tom Valdez stood at the edge of the crevice as they brought Madison's body up. He'd pulled bodies from these canyons before. He knew what flash floods did to people, but something about this didn't fit. "She almost made it back," he said to no one in particular. "The phone we found, her phone, the one she dropped, it was only 0.3 miles from the trailhead. She could have made it in 10 minutes. Detective Sarah Morrison arrived from Vernal PD an hour later. She looked at the scene, at the backpack with Ashley's name, at the location in the narrow crevice. "Where's the second girl?" she asked. "We don't know." "And why was this one wearing her friend's pack?" "We don't know that either." Morrison looked up at the canyon walls rising hundreds of feet above them. "What do we know?" Valdez pulled out his notes. Timeline from the GPS and phones. Both devices active until 3:47 am. Madison's phone shows attempted emergency calls at 3:46. Last text says, "Ashley hurt bad, I'm going back." Then the GPS cuts out. Madison runs toward the parking lot, loses her phone about a third of a mile from the exit. Then she turns around and comes back here. He gestured at the crevice. She falls or gets swept by water into this crack, dies from trauma. The flood comes later, but she's already gone. And Ashley? Vanished. No trace. Nothing. Morrison was quiet for a moment. If Madison ran back for help and almost made it, why did she turn around? No one had an answer. The search for Ashley Kern continued for 2 more weeks. They covered every canyon within 10 miles. They found nothing. On October 3rd, the official search was suspended. Madison Chen's death was ruled accidental, trauma from fall during flash flood conditions. Ashley Kern was listed as missing, presumed dead. But there were details that didn't fit, questions without answers, and a photograph on a damaged phone that showed 3 figures when there should have been 2. The case went cold. It would stay cold for 4 months, until a hiker with a metal detector found something buried in the sand. Between 9:15 a.m. and 3:47 p.m., they took 47 photographs. The 48th photo, taken at 4:03 p.m., 16 minutes after the GPS stopped, shouldn't exist. But it does. January 2018, 4 months after the disappearance. Kyle Brennan was hiking the Dry Fork Loop with a metal detector. He wasn't looking for Madison Chen or Ashley Kern. He was looking for a watch his brother had lost on the trail 3 weeks earlier. At 2:15 p.m., about a third of a mile from the trailhead parking lot, his detector started beeping. He dug into the sandy soil near the base of the canyon wall. 8 inches down, his fingers touched plastic. A phone. Gray case. Screen cracked but intact. Kyle pulled it out and wiped off the sand. The power button didn't respond. He'd worked at a phone repair shop in high school and knew water-damaged devices sometimes recovered if you let them dry completely and charged them carefully. He also recognized where he'd found it. This was part of the search area from last September. The case where one girl died and the other vanished. Kyle called the Vernal Police Department. Detective Sarah Morrison took possession of the phone on January 12th. She logged it into evidence and sent it to the state crime lab in Salt Lake City with a priority flag. The tech who opened it 3 days later was named David Park. He'd worked on hundreds of water-damaged devices. Most were unrecoverable. But this one had been protected by its case and buried in dry sand for 4 months. He extracted the SIM card and connected it to a forensic imaging system. The phone belonged to Madison Chen. Park worked for 6 hours recovering data. Text messages, call logs, photos, app data. Most of it was mundane. Group chats with friends, work emails, Instagram drafts. But the last several items sent a chill down his spine. He called Morrison directly. The last activity on this phone was September 15th, Park told Morrison over the phone, 3:47 p.m. She was trying to send text messages but had no signal. What did the messages say? 3 attempts, all to the same contact, Mom. First one at 3:46 p.m., just the word help. Second one, same timestamp, dry fork, we need help. Third one at 3:47, Ashley hurt bad, I'm going back. Morrison was writing this down. None of them went through? Correct. No cell signal in that part of the canyon. They stayed in the outbox. Anything else? Park hesitated. Location data. The phone's GPS tagged those messages. 3:46 and 3:47 p.m. It was moving, fast, like someone running. Direction? West. Toward the trailhead, toward the parking lot. Morrison thought about this. The phone had been found 0.3 miles from the parking lot. Madison had been running for help. She'd almost made it. How far did she get before she lost the phone? Based on the last GPS ping about where you found it, then the phone went dark. Because she dropped it. Or threw it. Or it fell out of her pocket while she was running. Morrison stared at her notes. Timeline was becoming clearer. Something happened to Ashley around 3:40 to 3:45 p.m. Madison panicked, tried to call for help, got no signal, started running back to the car, lost her phone. But then, she was found 2.8 miles from where the phone was, Morrison said. She ran almost to the parking lot, then went back into the canyon. Why? Park didn't have an answer. Morrison drove to Salt Lake City to meet with Sarah Chen, Madison's mother. They sat in the Chen family living room. Photos of Maddie covered the walls. School portraits, college graduation, vacation snapshots. Sarah gripped a tissue in her hands. We recovered Madison's phone, Morrison said gently. I need to ask you about the last messages she tried to send. Sarah's eyes filled. What did they say? Morrison showed her the printout. Help. Dry fork, we need help. Ashley hurt bad, I'm going back. She was trying to reach you to tell you they needed help. But I never got them. Sarah's voice broke. If there had been signal, I could have called someone. Sent rangers. Mrs. Chen, there's something I need to understand. Madison got very close to the parking lot. Close enough that she would have made it in another 10 or 15 minutes. But she turned around. Do you have any idea why she would do that? Sarah looked at the messages again. Ashley hurt bad. She wiped her eyes. Maddie wouldn't leave her. That's who my daughter was. If her friend needed help, she'd go back, even if it killed her. Morrison drove back to Vernal, thinking about loyalty and terrible choices. The forensic team continued extracting data from Madison's phone. What they found next changed everything. There were photos on the device that had been deleted, not by Madison, but by water damage corrupting the file system. Park was able to recover 13 of them. Most were from earlier in the hike. Scenery shots, a selfie at the trailhead, Ashley posing on a boulder, but 3 photos stood out. The first was time-stamped 3:41 p.m. It showed the narrow slot canyon ahead, towering red walls, shadows, a sliver of ski. In the lower right corner of the frame, partially visible, was a dark shape. Park enhanced the image. It looked like fabric, blue fabric. The second photo, 3:43 p.m., a blurry close-up of rocks and sand, possibly taken by accident, phone in motion. The third photo, 3:44 p.m., the canyon wall, nothing unusual, but the metadata showed something strange. The photo had been taken while the phone was moving at approximately 8 miles per hour. Madison had been running when she took it, or the phone had been in her pocket, taking pictures automatically. Park sent all of this to Morrison with a note. Check the blue fabric. It doesn't match either victim's clothing. Morrison pulled the case file. Ashley Kern, red REI t-shirt, black hiking pants. Madison Chen, gray athletic shirt, dark blue jeans. Neither wore bright blue. She called Ashley's boyfriend Ryan. Did Ashley have any blue clothing with her on the hike? No, she was wearing red. Her pack was red. Everything was red or black. What about Maddie? I don't know what Maddie wore, but Ashley would have mentioned if they were matching or something. Morrison called Sarah Chen. Did Madison have any blue clothing on the hike? Gray shirt, jeans. Her pack was gray. She doesn't even own much blue. She doesn't like the color. Morrison stared at the enhanced photo. Blue fabric, clearly visible, in a photograph taken 6 minutes before the GPS stopped. Someone else had been in that canyon. She reopened the case files and started making calls. Within a week, she'd interviewed everyone who'd been in the Dry Fork area on September 15, 2017. 3 families, 2 couples, a solo hiker. All had come forward during the original search. All had been on different sections of the trail system. None reported seeing Madison Chen or Ashley Kern. None wore blue. Morrison expanded the search. She pulled parking lot surveillance from the trailhead, but the camera only covered the entrance road, not the lot itself. She checked permits. No one had registered for overnight camping in the area. Dead end after dead end. Then she received a call from David Park. I found something else on Madison's phone, a voice memo. It's not Madison's voice. Whose is it? Ashley Kern's, recorded at 3:44 p.m. Morrison listened to the file 17 times. The audio quality was poor. Wind noise, echo from canyon walls, movement, footsteps maybe, or heavy breathing. Ashley's voice strained. Maddie, we need to... Then a sound, sharp, percussive, like rock striking rock, or something harder. The recording cut off after 3 seconds. Morrison sent it to an audio forensics specialist in Denver. He cleaned it up as much as possible, filtered background noise, isolated frequencies. His report came back 3 days later. The sharp sound at the end is consistent with impact, possibly the phone being dropped or struck. The voice shows signs of stress. Elevated pitch, irregular breathing. Environmental audio suggests a confined space with high reverb, consistent with a slot canyon. No other voices detected, but background noise makes definitive analysis impossible. Morrison played it again. Maddie, we need to what? Run, hide, get help, and what made that sound? She built a new timeline. 3:41 p.m. Madison takes photo showing blue fabric. 3:43 p.m. Blurry photo, phone in motion. 3:44 p.m. Ashley records voice memo, cuts off abruptly. 3:44 p.m. Madison takes photo while running. 3:46 p.m. Madison tries to text for help. Help. Dry Fork, we need help. 3:47 p.m. Madison's last text. Ashley hurt bad, I'm going back. 3:47 p.m. GPS stops transmitting. 3:50 p.m. Madison drops her phone. 3:55 p.m. Madison turns around, goes back. 4:03 p.m. Photo taken on Ashley's phone, sky. 4:17 p.m. Photo taken on Ashley's phone, 3 figures. 4:30 p.m. Rain begins 40 miles north. 4:55 p.m. Flash flood hits Dry Fork between 3:55 p.m. and 4:17 p.m. Madison returned to where Ashley was, took Ashley's backpack for some reason, and ended up in a crevice where she died from trauma before the flood arrived. Ashley vanished completely, and someone in blue was there. Morrison stared at the timeline until her vision blurred. Then she picked up her phone and called the FBI. It took 4 months and a hiker with a metal detector to crack the case open. What he found wasn't evidence of an accident. It was evidence of a choice. The FBI assigned Special Agent Robert Chen to the case. No relation to Madison, though the coincidence bothered him. He reviewed Morrison's evidence, the recovered phones, the timeline, the photographs, the mysterious blue fabric. You think there was a third person, he said. The photo doesn't lie. Blue fabric at 3:41 p.m. Neither girl wore blue. Chen studied the enhanced image. Could be old debris. A forgotten jacket from another hiker. Then why does it appear right before everything goes wrong? Chen had no answer. He authorized a forensic review of all physical evidence and requested a fresh search of the area where Madison's phone was found. The search turned up nothing. But the forensic review revealed something Morrison had missed. On Ashley's phone, the one found in Madison's pocket, there was browser history from the morning of September 15th. Ashley had searched Dry Fork Slot Canyon depth and Dry Fork narrow sections map, normal searches for someone planning a hike, but there was another search, time-stamped 6:47 a.m., 2 hours before they left. How long can someone survive in canyon water? Morrison drove to Salt Lake City and requested access to Ashley's laptop, still held by her family. Ashley's mother, Patricia Kern, met her at the door. Her eyes were hollow. She'd aged years in 4 months. "Have you found her?" "Not yet, Mrs. Kern, but I need to examine Ashley's computer again. There may be information we missed." Patricia led her upstairs to Ashley's bedroom. Everything was exactly as Ashley had left it. Clothes in the closet, posters on the walls, laptop on the desk. Morrison opened it and began searching files. Ashley was organized. Folders for work, photos, music, documents. Morrison opened the documents folder and sorted by date. Most recent file, September 12, 2017, 3 days before the hike. A draft email. Subject line, blank. Recipient, Dr. Sarah Lindquist. Morrison opened it. The first line made her stop breathing. "I need to tell someone before I do this. Maddie doesn't know. She thinks this is just a hike." Morrison read the entire email 3 times before she could process what it meant. Ashley Kern had been seeing a therapist, Dr. Sarah Lindquist, a psychiatrist in Salt Lake City specializing in depression and anxiety disorders. Ashley had been in treatment for 6 months, and 3 days before the Dry Fork hike, she'd written a confession, a suicide note disguised as an explanation. "I can't do this anymore. The pressure, the expectations, the constant feeling that I'm failing at everything. Everyone thinks I'm the strong one, the confident one, the one who has it together. But I don't. I'm drowning. The Dry Fork has slot canyons, deep ones. I've researched it, the kind where if you go far enough, you don't come out. I know exactly where. I'll make sure Maddie gets back safe. I'll send her away before I do it. I'll tell her I forgot something or need a minute alone. She'll go. She always listens to me. I'm sorry I'm doing this, but I can't see another way out." The email had never been sent. Ashley had written it, saved it as a draft, and closed the laptop. Then she'd picked up Madison 3 days later and driven to Dry Fork. Morrison sat in Ashley's childhood bedroom, staring at words written by a dead woman, and felt something cold settle in her chest. This wasn't an accident. This was a plan. She contacted Dr. Lindquist immediately. The psychiatrist confirmed Ashley had been her patient since March 2017. "She came to me with symptoms of depression and anxiety, high functioning but struggling. We were making progress." Did she ever express suicidal ideation? Dr. Lindquist hesitated. Doctor-patient confidentiality complicated things, but Ashley was dead. "Yes, in our last session 2 weeks before the incident, she mentioned feeling hopeless, but she denied any immediate plans. I assessed her as moderate risk, not imminent." "Did you know about the hike?" "No, she never mentioned it." Morrison showed her the email draft. Dr. Lindquist read it and went pale. "She never sent this to me. If she had, I would have intervened immediately. I would have contacted her family, possibly initiated a hold. But she didn't send it. No. She kept it to herself." Morrison returned to Vernal and built a new reconstruction. The real timeline. Ashley Kern had been planning suicide for weeks. She researched Dry Fork specifically because it had deep slot canyons where a body could disappear. She invited Madison, her closest friend, someone who trusted her completely, to provide cover. It would look like a hiking accident. Madison would go home. Ashley would vanish into the canyon. But something went wrong. At approximately 3:40 p.m., Ashley either confessed to Madison what she was planning or Madison figured it out. A confrontation. The voice memo at 3:44 p.m. captured the moment. "Maddie, we need to..." Then the impact sound. Maybe Madison grabbed the phone. Maybe Ashley dropped it. Madison panicked, tried to call for help at 3:46 p.m. No signal. Made a decision. Run to the parking lot. Get help. Come back. She ran. Lost her phone at 3:50 p.m. Got within a third of a mile of safety. Then stopped. The text she'd tried to send said, "Ashley hurt bad. I'm going back." Hurt how? Self-inflicted injury? Had Ashley already harmed herself when Madison ran? Madison turned around and went back, found Ashley injured or dying, took Ashley's backpack, maybe for supplies, maybe for the phone inside to call for help. Then the flash flood came. Madison got swept into a crevice and died. Ashley, already in the deep slot canyon, exactly where she'd planned to be, was carried away by the water. Her body washed into some unreachable section of the drainage system. The official cause, suicide by drowning, staged as a hiking accident. The tragedy: Madison died trying to save someone who didn't want to be saved. But that didn't explain everything. It didn't explain the blue fabric. It didn't explain the photo at 4:17 p.m. showing 3 figures. It didn't explain who took that photo if Madison was already dying in a crevice. Morrison brought her findings to Agent Chen. "Suicide complicates things," Chen said, "but it fits most of the evidence. Except the third person. Maybe there was no third person. Maybe the blue fabric was debris. Maybe the photo at 4:17 is a glitch, corrupted data misread as an image. I had 3 separate labs verify that photo. It's real." Chen looked at the image again, 2 figures, one supporting the other, and behind them, far back, the third figure in blue. "Then, someone else was there," he said quietly. "Someone who saw what happened and didn't report it. Or someone who was involved." They stared at each other. "We may never know," Chen said finally. "Ashley's gone. Madison's gone. If there was a third person, they're not coming forward." The case went to the district attorney. After reviewing all evidence, the DA made a ruling. Madison Chen, accidental death during flash flood while attempting rescue. Ashley Kern, presumed suicide, body not recovered. The suicidal intent was documented but kept out of public reports at the family's request. The case was closed in March 2018. But Morrison couldn't let go of one detail. That photograph, the one showing 3 people when there should have been 2. She had it printed and pinned it to her office wall. Some questions don't have answers, she thought, and some answers are buried too deep to find. The case was officially closed in March 2018, but for Detective Sarah Morrison, it never really ended. The photograph haunted her. She'd shown it to everyone. Forensic experts confirmed it was genuine. Image analysts said the third figure was real, not a shadow or artifact. But no one could explain who it was or why they were there. Morrison kept investigating on her own time. She interviewed hikers who'd been in the area that week. She checked missing person reports for anyone wearing blue. She reviewed every piece of clothing sold at outdoor stores in Utah in the months before the incident. Nothing. In June 2018, she received a call from Ryan Mitchell, Ashley's ex-boyfriend. "I found something," he said. "In Ashley's storage unit. I've been cleaning it out and you need to see this." Morrison drove to Salt Lake City. Ryan met her at a used storage facility on the west side, Unit 247. He unlocked it and led her inside. Boxes, camping gear, old furniture. Ryan pointed to a plastic bin in the corner. "I opened it yesterday. It's full of journals, Ashley's journals, going back years." Morrison pulled out the bin. Inside were a dozen spiral notebooks, different colors, different years. She opened the most recent one. The last entry was dated September 10th, 2017, 5 days before the hike. She read it standing there in the storage unit. "I'm tired of pretending. Tired of being the strong one, the confident one, the one everyone relies on. I don't want to do this anymore. But I can't just disappear without a reason. People would ask questions. Mom would blame herself. So I'm going to make it look like an accident. The slot canyons are perfect, deep, narrow, dangerous. People die there all the time. It'll look like I got caught in a flash flood or fell. Tragic, but understandable. I'm taking Maddie because I need a witness, someone who'll tell the story right. She trusts me completely. She'll say we were just hiking and something went wrong. No one will question it. I feel bad about scaring her. But she'll be fine. She'll get out. I'll make sure of that." Morrison felt sick. Ashley had used Madison as a prop, a witness to make her death look accidental. But something had gone wrong. Madison hadn't left. She'd stayed. She'd tried to save Ashley. And it had killed her. Morrison kept reading. Earlier entries from the summer revealed Ashley's deteriorating mental state. Therapy wasn't working. Medication wasn't helping. She felt trapped in a life that looked perfect from the outside, but felt suffocating inside. One entry from August stood out. "I saw someone today at the park, just sitting on a bench, watching people. Something about them felt off. They were wearing this bright blue windbreaker, completely out of place in the heat. I don't know why, but I had this feeling they were looking at me specifically. Paranoid? Probably, but I couldn't shake it. Morrison flipped ahead. Another mention 2 weeks later, blue jacket person again, this time at the coffee shop near work. Same jacket, same blank stare. I'm losing it. I'm seeing things that aren't there or seeing patterns where none exist. One final mention, September 8th, saw a blue jacket at the trailhead last weekend when I was scouting Dry Fork. They were just standing there, didn't hike, didn't move, just watched. I think I'm being followed. But that's crazy, right? Why would anyone follow me? Morrison photographed every page mentioning the blue jacket. 7 entries over 6 weeks. Always the same description, always the same unsettling feeling that Ashley was being watched. She showed the entries to Agent Chen. Could be paranoia, he said. Depression and anxiety can cause that. Or someone was actually following her. Why? Morrison had no answer. She ran a long-shot query, missing persons reports in Utah for anyone matching blue windbreaker in the last 5 years. She got 1 hit. October 2011. A search and rescue volunteer named Marcus Webb had disappeared during a training exercise in Zion National Park, last seen wearing his SAR uniform and a blue Zion SAR windbreaker. He was never found. Morrison pulled the case file. Webb, 34, experienced climber and canyoneer. He'd been part of the Zion search and rescue team for 6 years. On October 15, 2011, he'd gone into the backcountry alone for a training run. When he didn't return, his team searched for 2 weeks. They found nothing except his backpack, abandoned near a slot canyon. No body, no explanation. The case went cold. Morrison stared at the file photo of Marcus Webb. Average height, average build, the kind of person who could blend into a crowd. Then she looked at the photo of his SAR jacket, bright blue, Zion SAR logo on the chest. She pulled up the enhanced photo from Ashley's phone. The figure in the background, barely visible. Blue jacket, same shade. Morrison contacted the Zion SAR team. The coordinator, a woman named Ellen Martinez, remembered Marcus Webb. Good guy, quiet, took the job seriously. His disappearance shook us all. Did he have any connection to the Vernal area, to Dry Fork? Not that I know of. Why? Morrison explained what she'd found. The blue jacket, the figure in the photo. The possibility that someone wearing a Zion SAR jacket had been in Dry Fork on September 15, 2017. Ellen was quiet for a long moment. We retired those jackets in 2012. After Marcus disappeared, we redesigned the uniform. The old blue ones were phased out. So anyone wearing one now would be wearing old equipment. Yeah, either they kept it from years ago or found it somewhere. Could Marcus Webb still be alive? He'd be 40 now, it's possible. But we searched everywhere. If he survived whatever happened in 2011, he never came forward. Morrison thanked her and hung up. She was chasing a ghost. A dead man's jacket worn by someone who may or may not have been at Dry Fork, someone who appeared in Ashley's journal, someone who might have been following her, or Morrison was connecting dots that didn't exist. In August 2019, 2 years after the disappearance, Ranger Tom Valdez was patrolling a remote section of the Dry Fork system when he found something, a backpack, gray, half buried in sediment at the bottom of a side canyon 7 miles from where Madison Chen had died. He radioed it in. Morrison arrived 6 hours later. The backpack was water damaged but intact. She opened it carefully. Inside, a wallet with Madison Chen's ID, an empty water bottle, a small sketchbook with drawings of canyon landscapes, and at the very bottom, folded neatly, a blue windbreaker, women's size medium, property of Zion SAR. The tag was still visible. Morrison held it up. The jacket was old, faded, but unmistakable. The same jacket from the photos, the same jacket Marcus Webb had been wearing when he disappeared in 2011. But Madison Chen wore size small. Ashley Kern wore large. This jacket didn't belong to either of them. Morrison sent the jacket to the FBI lab. DNA analysis found 3 contributors, Madison Chen, Ashley Kern, and an unknown male. The unknown profile was run through every database. CODIS, military records, missing persons archives, no match. Whoever had worn this jacket, they weren't in the system. Morrison requested the file on Marcus Webb be reopened. The Zion SAR coordinator sent over his DNA profile, collected from personal items after his disappearance. The lab ran a comparison. The unknown male DNA from the jacket was not a match to Marcus Webb, so someone else had worn Webb's jacket, Someone who'd been close enough to Madison and Ashley to transfer DNA, someone who'd been in that canyon on September 15, 2017. Morrison stared at the lab report until the words blurred. Then she made one final call. Agent Chen listened to her findings in silence. "What do you want to do?" he asked. "Reopen the case. Issue a public appeal. Someone knows who this person is." Based on a jacket and a photograph? Based on evidence that a third party was present and never came forward? Chen sighed. "Sarah, I understand, but we have no crime here. Ashley's death was suicide. Madison's was accidental. Even if someone else was there, what did they do wrong? Failed to report? That's not a felony. They took the jacket. They were in Madison's backpack. Or Madison found the jacket earlier and picked it up, or Ashley had it. We don't know." Morrison knew he was right, but every instinct screamed that something was wrong. Someone had been there. Someone had watched two women die and walked away. The case remained closed. The jacket was logged into evidence, and the figure in blue remained unidentified. The case remains closed. Ashley Kern remains missing, and the figure in blue, if it ever existed, remains unidentified. Detective Sarah Morrison retired from the Vernal Police Department in December 2020. She'd spent 3 years chasing a ghost and found nothing but questions. On her last day, she took the photograph of the 3 figures off her office wall and put it in a box with the rest of her case files. "Some cases you solve," she told a colleague. "Some stay with you. This one is both. I know what happened to Maddie. She tried to save her friend. I know what Ashley planned. She wanted to end her pain. But I don't know who was in that canyon with them, and I don't think I ever will." The box went into her garage. She didn't open it again. Madison Chen's family established the Madison Chen Outdoor Safety Foundation in 2018. It provides GPS trackers and emergency beacons to hikers free of charge. Sarah Chen, Madison's mother, runs it from her living room in Salt Lake City. "My daughter died trying to save someone she loved," Sarah said in a 2019 interview. "She ran toward danger when she could have run away. That's who Maddie was. If this foundation saves even one person, then maybe her death meant something." The foundation has distributed over 2,000 devices. 3 hikers have used them to call for rescue in life-threatening situations. All 3 survived. Ashley Kern's family never spoke publicly about her suicide. Patricia Kern, Ashley's mother, moved to Oregon in 2019. She disconnected her phone and refused all interview requests. Ryan Mitchell, Ashley's boyfriend, relocated to Colorado 6 months after the case closed. He changed careers from software engineering to outdoor education. He teaches wilderness survival courses and never mentions Ashley by name, but colleagues say he's harder on students than anyone else. He drills into them, check the weather, tell someone your route, never go alone, one instructor said, like he's trying to prevent something that already happened. Dr. Sarah Lindquist, Ashley's therapist, left private practice in 2018. She now works at a crisis intervention center in Salt Lake City. "I've asked myself 1,000 times if I could have prevented what happened," she said in a consultation with Morrison. "The answer is, I don't know. Ashley hid her plans well. She never sent that email. She never told me about Dry Fork. If she had, I would have acted, but she didn't give me the chance." She paused. "What haunts me most is that she involved someone else. Madison didn't choose to be part of Ashley's plan. She was just trying to be a good friend." Ranger Tom Valdez still works the Vernal District. He's 58 now and talking about retirement. But first, he conducts mandatory safety briefings for every group hiking Dry Fork. "The canyon doesn't care about your experience level," he tells them. "It doesn't care if you're prepared. Flash floods can start 40 miles away. Weather changes in minutes. If someone in your group says they're uncomfortable, you listen, you turn around. No photo, no view, no experience is worth dying for." He doesn't mention Madison Chen or Ashley Kern by name, but everyone in Vernal knows who he's talking about. In his office, he keeps a small memorial, 2 photos printed from social media, Madison and Ashley smiling at a restaurant. The photo is dated 3 weeks before they died. "People ask me all the time what happened to them," Valdez said. "I tell them what we know. One tried to get help. One didn't want to be helped. Both died in the canyon. That's the official story." He paused. "But between you and me, I think someone else was there. I think they saw everything and walked away. I think about that person sometimes, what they saw, why they didn't help, whether they think about those girls." The mystery of the blue jacket was never solved. The DNA profile of the unknown male remains in the FBI database. It's been compared against every new entry for the last 5 years. No matches. Marcus Webb's disappearance in 2011 remains unsolved. His family still maintains a website asking for information. The photo of him in his blue Zion Sayar jacket is displayed prominently. No connection between Webb and Ashley or Madison was ever found. The jacket itself sits in evidence storage in Salt Lake City. Evidence number 2019-0847, water-damaged blue windbreaker, women's medium, property of Zion SAR. It will sit there until someone claims it or the case is permanently archived. Neither seems likely. The Dry Fork Loop is still open to hikers. The warning signs are bigger now. Flash flood danger, check weather, hike in groups, tell someone your plans. Every season, dozens of people walk the same path Madison and Ashley walked. Most make it back safely. Some don't check the weather. Some underestimate the canyon. Rangers still pull people out regularly. But everyone who works the trail knows the story. 2 girls, September 2017, 1 found, 1 missing. And the question that was never answered. In 2023, a group of students from the University of Utah organized a memorial hike. 23 people, Madison's age when she died, walked the Dry Fork Loop in silence. They placed flowers at the point where the GPS had stopped. Sarah Chen attended. She walked slowly, looking at the canyon walls her daughter had seen. She stood at the spot where Maddie had turned around and run back to save Ashley. "She almost made it," Sarah said to no one in particular. "Another 10 minutes and she would have reached the car. She could have called for help. She'd be alive." A ranger who was monitoring the group approached her gently. "Mrs. Chen, if it helps, your daughter made a choice. She knew the risk. She went back anyway. That takes a kind of courage most people don't have." Sarah nodded but didn't speak. On the 5th anniversary of the disappearance, September 15, 2022, a hiker reported something unusual to Ranger Valdez. "I was at the turnaround point," the hiker said. "About 3.2 miles in. There was someone standing off the trail, just watching, wearing this old-looking blue jacket. I waved, but they didn't respond. When I got closer, they were gone. Like they vanished." Valdez asked for a description. "Couldn't tell. They were far away. Average height, I guess. The jacket was the only thing that stood out, bright blue. Looked vintage." Valdez filed the report but didn't pursue it. He'd heard similar stories over the years. Hikers seeing things, shadows that looked like people, the canyon playing tricks. But he thought about it for a long time. In Morrison's garage, in a box marked Chen Kern 2017, the photograph remains. 2 figures on a rock outcropping, one supporting the other, and behind them, barely visible, the 3rd figure in blue. Morrison hasn't looked at it in 3 years. But sometimes she thinks about it. She thinks about Ashley Kern planning her death for weeks, writing that email and never sending it, taking her best friend to the canyon to witness her disappearance. She thinks about Madison Chen running for help, getting so close to safety, then turning back, choosing loyalty over survival. She thinks about the flash flood that took them both, the water that swept Madison into a crevice and carried Ashley somewhere she's never been found. And she thinks about the person in blue. The one who was there, the one who saw everything, the one who left that jacket in Madison's backpack and disappeared into the canyon. Some questions don't have answers, some disappearances don't have explanations, and some trails should never be walked alone. Madison Chen's body was returned to her family and cremated. Her ashes were scattered in the Salt Lake Valley, far from any canyon. Ashley Kern's body was never recovered. She is still listed as missing, presumed dead. Her name appears on memorial websites for lost hikers. Her family holds no grave to visit. The Dry Fork system continues its work. Water carves deeper into stone. Flash floods reshape the canyon floor. Evidence washes away. Secrets stay buried. And somewhere in the drainage, in a crack too deep to search, in a pool too murky to see, in a chamber no one has found, Ashley Kern rests in the place she chose, or she doesn't. Some mysteries remain mysteries.